to this last webinar of our AA week. So I'm really pleased to be with Karen tonight. So I don't know if you don't know me, I'm Manon. I'm in charge of marketing in Ironhack, France. So I'm really happy to have so many people connected already. And yeah, I'm also happy to welcome Karen with me tonight. So Karen, can you introduce yourself in a few words, please?
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, I'm Karen Kaushansky. Super happy to be here today. I am Canadian. I speak French, but tonight's presentation will be in English. I currently live in Bordeaux, where Manon and I have met. And I'll give you a little bit more background and history and where I got to where I am today as we get into the presentation.
Yes. So thank you very much for being here. It will be really, really interesting knowing your background and also a bit more about Gemini. So really interesting. And yes, the presentation will be in English because it's easier for Karen, and also like because we can have also people not speaking French to this webinar. So I hope it will be good for everyone, but we will try not to speak too quickly. So it's also understandable for everyone, even if you are not like a native speaker. So just to tell you a bit more about the platform, if you don't know it, so you have different widgets you can interact with. You can make them like bigger or smaller if you need to see something bigger. You have also like small icons at the bottom of your screen if you don't see the chat or the Q&A widget or the resources widget. You can click on the different icons so you can like highlight them a bit more. So how we will present tonight. So what we will do, I will do a quick intro, then Karen is going to do her masterclass for more or less 30 to 40 minutes, and we'll keep between 15 and 20 minutes to answer all your questions at the end of her presentation. So if you have questions during the presentation, you can put them inside the Q&A section. It's normal if you can't see it or can't see the questions of the other participants, but we will receive them and we'll try to answer them at the end. So yes, so just please put your question inside the Q&A section. If you want also to interact with us, to comment what we are saying, you can put everything inside the chat. We'll be more than happy to have all your comments inside the chat section. So let's start. So to give you a bit more context about Ironhack, if you don't know us, so Ironhack, we are a tech school. We were funded by Ariel and Gonzalo, who you can see on the screen. And our purpose is to give access to tech careers to any person not having a tech background. So we have had actually more than 10,000 students from in the past 10 years. So today we have campuses in different countries in Europe, but also in the US, and we have 100% remote classes for people not living near a campus. So our goal is to stop stereotypes because we don't want just like white young men to access to tech, but of course all type of genders, of people like any age. So actually we have students from 18 to 65 years old, also a lot of women, and you don't need any prerequisite to access our courses. You just need motivation. So if you don't have any background in tech, any knowledge or previous school, it's not a problem. Our courses are made for that. So what about us? So we have different boot camps. So our courses are in 3 months or 6 months when they are part-time. And we have web development, UX, UI, data analytics, cybersecurity, but also new ones as we have new jobs in tech, data science and machine learning, AI engineering, and DevOps and cloud computing. And actually, we have also launched a new AI school. So this format is made for professionals. It's quicker because it's between like 6 and 8 weeks with classes only during nights. And yeah, the first sessions have started this week, and we'll have new sessions in July. So if you are interested, you can click on the different links and also the button you should see on your right. So you can access our landing page and know more about AA School. So yeah, once again, 100% online evening classes between 30 and 40 hours. So it's perfect to have more skills through your career and integrate AI inside your current job. So yes, if you want to know more about us, if you want to know more about our events and you like this event and you want to get more, so please just follow us on social media. We are Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Meetup as well. So yeah, just like reach out if you want to if you have questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer. So not to get more time, Karen, I leave you to your masterclass, and please, just interact and ask your questions if you have any, and we'll take the time to answer them at the end of the presentation. So thanks again for being here, and I'm really excited to just hear what you have to say about Gemini.
Great, thank you. I know in France we probably call it Gemini, which is, but today we'll talk about Gemini. Thanks for having me again. Today, in the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want to cover a little bit of how we got to where we are today with LLMs, with large language models, and kind of weaves in a little bit about my past and my role today and what I do. So we're going to talk about past, present, and future. And then I'm on the design side. And so I work a lot on the user experience of things. And so I also really care about users' perceptions and mental models and how users perceive AI, and also the possibilities in the future about like where it's all going. So I started working on voice user interfaces in 1996. Okay, this is a long time ago. So I started in Montreal for the telecommunications company, and they were working on 2 voice projects. So people were able to call information like 411, and were able to ask, it was all automated, like which language, French or English, what city, the name, and then it was handed off to an operator, right? Like this is the first time that we were able to recognize people's voice. And the second project that was out of the telecommunications company was voice activated dialing. So that's like picking up the phone and saying, call mom, which like many of us do today because you have Siri on your phone or you have, Google Assistant. But when I started, like this was the time of when I started. It was for like my dad who would get in his car and like want to call my mom every day on the way home from work. And he'd have to dial like *44 and then say, call home. And in that time, the way that we would do this is you had to predetermine the 20 names in your address book that you might ever want to call. So think about your like mobile phone contact list today. Probably, could be hundreds of people. You had to pick 20, and it only worked with those. So over the years, as I've been working on this, it's been amazing to see the technological advances that have been made over the years. So it used to be we had to handwrite all the ways people could say yes, no. Like if we asked a yes, no question, we had to know ahead of time, like they might say, yup, yeah, sure, okay. We would handcraft that. And over the years, we could use new models, some natural language understanding models to try and be more conversational. So like this is even before LLMs. This is like the advances that happened in the past 20 years. So the first thing, like when you call the bank or airlines, and it could be like, how can I help you? Like this was the continuation of these conversational experiences. The two other advances that happened over the years was, of course, more powerful processing power. So now your phone and hardware can do much more. It's more integrated. That reduces latency. And of course, we can use more like context and memory and sensors to help with the experience. So over the years, I've done so many things. I worked on the first kind of digital assistants with Tell Me, which Tell Me was bought by Microsoft. So this was like the precursor to Cortana and Google Assistant. This was even before Siri came out. I've worked on chatbots. I've worked on mixed reality. Super, super interesting spaces to work on. And now for the past 4 years, I've been at Google, about 4.5 years. And I was a conversation design lead. Sorry, one second. For 3 years, I was a conversation design lead, bringing the Google Assistant to the Pixel Watch. So this is understanding how users want to speak to their watch. What are the things they want to do? How is talking to your watch different than talking to a home speaker or your computer, and creating the experiences around that. For the past year, I've been working on Gemini and bringing Gemini, the experience, and we're going to get into all of this, to our mobile apps, to iOS and to Android, where you can type to Gemini, or you can also speak to Gemini. And we're gonna show you some of that. Okay, so how does this relate to LLMs? So if we think about hard coding those 20 names in the address book, it's like there's similar evolution that happened to get to LLMs. It used to be traditional programming was very hard coded. So what is a cat? Well, it's a type animal, its legs, like it has 4 legs, ears, right? It's very like you have to hard code what is a cat. Over the years, we moved to neural networks. So you train the model like this is a cat, this is not a cat, this is a cat, this is not a cat. And the neural network is smart enough to kind of learn that. Today, these large language models, we give it huge piles of data. Like we say, like whatever's on the internet, like trillions of words. And the models are able to understand so many more concepts that way. And really what we say it's able to like have a foundational intelligence based on all this information that is on the web. Let me give you an example, right? I'm inviting people over for a wine and cheese, dinner, music, conversation, right? There's patterns in language that we automatically kind of have learned over time. And this is similar to the LLM. It learns in all of the data, training data, what might come next. So Gemini on the web, and you can go to Gemini on the web, gemini.google.com, and you can type, you can type to Gemini, or you can push the microphone and talk to Gemini. So when I type in, suggest the next word, I'm inviting people over for wine and indeed, it gives me these answers: cheese, dinner, music. This is a Gemini response. I also have access to a different model of Gemini, and we're going to talk about the different models, but this is regular Gemini. And then I also have access to Gemini Advanced, a more powerful model that you could say has more training data. So maybe it knows more things, more precise things. It has more training data. So when I ask, suggest the next word, it just comes up with cheese, right? Wine and cheese. So a more precise answer. So a large language model is really, if we take it literally, it's about the language, right? This pattern, like pattern language, and knowing kind of what comes next. So it sits within an umbrella of generative AI, which means that what you generate is more than just language. I mean, we see, right, generating all kinds of content, images, music. We're going to see, right, a whole other kinds of things that can be generated. So when we talk large language models, again, that's a little limiting. And actually, we say that Gemini is more than that. It's not just about language anymore. We're seeing, if anybody saw ChatGPT, the 4.0 model, this omnimodal, well, we as well at Google are headed this way, which is multimodal models. So let me show you this, this video. Ooh. Hold on, Manon, I don't see how to press it. Ah. Hold on.
No, I think it's
there we go.
No, you need to go to the, yeah, on the clip. Oh, next one.
There we go. Okay, this is a, yeah, let's play this.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AES-CBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
Okay, I'll stop it there. So this is called Project Astra. It came out of our Google research arm, Google DeepMind, showing that there's a model that can simultaneously recognize and understand video, speech, annotations, right, tapping on the screen, all of this being understood and you know, at the same time. So if we think about Gemini, the models, there's all different kind of categories of models that can do different things. So like we talk about Gemini as a family of models. So depending if you're a developer or just a consumer, you have access to kind of these different tiers of models, whether it can only recognize text, whether it's a small model that can maybe run on a device. We have these choices. The other important thing just to learn about how do we compare models is about token windows or like context windows. So a context window is how much information a model can hold at one time. So it's it's broken down by, or it's made up of the number of tokens, where a token is each piece of information. So for example, our Gemini 1.5 Pro model can process 1 hour of video. This means you can upload a 1 hour video and then say, in 5 bullet points, summarize the key points. Okay, so one example here that I'm showing is Gemini. As they were testing this out, they fed the model the Apollo 11 transcript. So that was like 42 pages of, here, let's see, 402 pages of transcript from this, you know, mission to the moon. And the person trying this out, you know, queried this, like, so you uploaded, it uploaded, I think in about 30 seconds. And then the query was, you know, find 3 comedic moments, list quotes and emojis. And indeed, like, I think actually it was the query that took 30 seconds to respond. And there was an answer where, you know, I'll bet you a cup of coffee on it. Like banter happening within the Apollo mission. So things that you can do by uploading a whole bunch of data at once. Super interesting. So that's Gemini, the models. I work on Gemini, the experience. Okay, so that's, again, access to regular people on the web and on the mobile app, where you can pay to have access to Gemini Advanced that has a stronger, like we were seeing before, a bigger, more powerful model. I will say that the app is not launched in every country yet in Europe, due to all the things we need to do to make it safe and secure and follow all the guidelines per country. It's not everywhere yet. I don't think it's yet in France, but I think it is coming soon. I think it's rolling out pretty soon now throughout Europe. So what can an LLM do? We're going to go through examples in the next few minutes. An LLM can help users learn and understand. So you can go deep on a topic. You can help, like I suggested before, summarize a whole bunch of information. Another thing it's really good at is to generate content. Draft an email, help with social media. Manon, when you write up a summary of this, you should ask Gemini to write a summary of our talk today. It can help you plan and organize, keep lists, help with recommendations, logistics. There is a set of people who use Gemini and other LLMs for connection and companionship, offering advice, answering questions that people are nervous or worried or embarrassed to talk to with other humans. I just had a fight with my boyfriend. This is what he said to me. How should I handle this? And it can do much more technical things as well, code creation, debugging code. We are now moving towards like uploading spreadsheets and doing data analysis. Like it can be very powerful in all different types of ways. So let's show you. The other point today that people that we need to kind of position in this next session is it's up to us. Like right now, the perceptions of our like users is like we are driving the conversation. You need to sit and type or talk to Gemini in a way that like it's gonna drive the conversation. You want to go there because you have something to ask. So it's up to us. And part of that is about prompt engineering. Like how do you ask a question of the model? So if I ask Gemini, what is prompt engineering? Well, prompt engineering can be interpreted and understood. Like it's the process of writing the instruction so that the model understands and responds. Okay, a prompt is a natural language text describing the task that an AI should perform. A prompt for a text-to-text language model can be a query, and so on. But what does prompt engineering really mean? Like, if you don't get an answer that makes sense, you revise your query, you revise your prompt, and I say, explain prompt engineering for LLMs as a 5th grade teacher would. So if I want to have simpler language, I might prompt the LLM like this. And it does a great job, right? Imagine you have a really smart friend who is good at writing different kinds of things. You ask your friend to write a story or poem. Prompt engineering is like giving your smart friend the best possible instructions so they can write the things you want them to write. You are directing, right, the model. And this is what I mean, like it's up to us. We today, humans, need to figure out how best to ask the question to get a good answer. So this, in a way, kind of represents how I can use an LLM to learn things, right? What is prompt engineering? It's also really good at generating content, emails, draft an email. a few weeks ago, it was Mother's Day in Canada, where my mom is, and I am very serious that I called my mom. I'm like, I did not have time to send a card. I apologize, but I said I'm going to send you a poem, and I told her AI is going to generate this poem, and I prompted the model, write a 12-line Mother's Day poem for my mom, who loves doing crosswords, lives to cook, and has people come over for dinner. And my mom suggested, she didn't want chocolates this year. And so, okay, I mean, this sounds a little like gimmicky, or okay, like, is this really useful? But you know what? When I did this, and the next morning I got a message from her saying, "This brought tears to my eyes. Thank you for the most beautiful poem. Happy Mother's Day to you, send," which is a whole other story. But this means something. Like, I said, "Mom, it was AI." She's like, "But it's okay. It's okay that it was AI. I know it came, like, I know it came from you. Like, it was your prompting that came to this." So again, being able to generate content. We can also use Gemini to summarize. And I'll show you the example in a second, but to know that Gemini has access, because it's Google, you can connect Gemini to your calendar, to your workspace account. So your email, you can connect it. We call them like extensions. Other, like Google Flights, YouTube Music, to be able to use Gemini as a front end to access some of this. So let me show you this example. Like, I asked, can you summarize my emails about Ironhack? So let's go to this. Okay, so I asked for a summary of my emails, and it did take a few seconds, and it told me all about the emails I had, that we have this meeting here today. It showed me the sources of this information. It listed them all out. I could always go click on those emails. And then I was like, oh, Manon's on vacation. When did Manon say she would be back? And indeed, it was able from an email to pull out and tell me exactly when Manon would be back in the office. The other thing that large language models are really good at is multiple languages, like translation and multiple languages. And so I asked Gemini, can you write me a bio in French for my LinkedIn profile? So I gave it a link of my bio, and like literally in 3 seconds had what it would have taken me a very long time to get right. Like, just amazingly powerful to do these tasks. You can also use it for planning. I asked, best flights to Sicily if I want to travel during the week. This is another extension. So digging summarizing or taking the information from Google Flights, offer me all of this. I could always go to a link and go to see directly on Google Flights just to verify things. People use this very much for our travel. The people using it for travel is a very big sector, which is help me plan a 7-day trip to Italy. Where should I go? What should I do? Should I go to Rome and Florence? How many cities? And having these back and forth conversations together is more efficient or more rewarding than these individual searches, right, that you would do otherwise. So a note about AI in general. We know that AIs can generate incorrect or nonsensical information. We call this hallucinations. They can generate inappropriate content. And I will say this is top of mind for anyone working in this space. In some of the examples that I showed, you can see that when there's something coming from a search or from the web or even my emails, there's always links to the sources. So if I wanted to double check, is this correct? Is this true? I can do that. There's always a way to kind of click the Google search button and check like another source if I wanted to. We have absolutely ways to like provide feedback saying this is absolutely wrong, this is factually incorrect. And of course we spend a lot of time ensuring that our offering, our AI offering is safe and ethical and unbiased. So what is the future? So I said, right now, the perception is like, it's up to us. Like, why am I going to Gemini? What are the things that I can do there? Like, it's driven by us. And we're going to start to see that we're going to move from what can AI do for us, then like, what can AI do with us? Because we're moving to a world where it's a different kind of interaction model, and we'll get into that. This quote from an Ezra Klein podcast tries to illustrate this. Right now, we're kind of thinking of AI as a calculator that uses words. Like you use your words to punch in like what you want it to do. But actually, the power that lies here in LLMs, in generative AI, is using AI as an imaginative, creative partner. How can we collaborate together to do something you wouldn't have done by yourself? So it's less about directing and more about collaborating. Today, there's perceptions that AI is going to take over. It's going to take our jobs. It's going to do it all for us. And I say future here, but it's actually not that far off. Like I think it takes some changing of perceptions and just changing of starting to use and trust a little bit more about what AI can do. And it's more about, less about AI is going to take over, and it's about thinking together. It's about creating content together, relevant and useful, and makes the interaction feel more personal. Some of these ideas are taken from a paper that I've linked here, which a colleague of mine here in Google just recently presented, which is moving from, the perceptions today, it's very a command-based interaction, do this, do that, I want to know this, to I don't know exactly what I want. I don't have a direction for you, but I have kind of where I want to go, like an intent-based interaction. And we explore those topics in a much more vague and exploratory way that allows for give and take from Gemini, from the model to the user. Similar, this last point is instead of users just want the answer. It is not. We're trying to delineate this from search itself. It's not search. It's not just do the thing, but it's share an effort with AI to come up with an even more, to come out better on the other side, because AI has given you something, an idea, brainstorming, advice for that fight with your boyfriend, something that you wouldn't have known otherwise, in a very intent-based way, and give meaning to what it is that you're trying to do. So with that, I mean, that was about 30 minutes. Tried to touch on kind of past, present, future, some hints or tips of what Gemini can do. Again, Gemini on the web, Gemini on coming to like iOS, so your iPhones, and on Android phones. And I really, truly believe like we're just getting started here in a really good way. Like, again, thinking about not just what is it going to do, but what can we do together? What can it help me with? If you saw, again, those, the ChatGPT, similar to Project Astra, right, with camera open, and being able to, the model being able to see what you see, this also opens a world of possibilities of, hey, am I doing this right as I do a like lift at the gym? Like, can you help me? Can you help me, do this better? Or I want to learn to crochet. Am I doing this right? There's so many more things that still like we're just starting to get into, and we're going to see over time, again, how we can collaborate with AI to be, to be better, to learn, to help us as we go forward. So with that, yeah, if we have questions, I'd love to take some.
Thanks, Karen. That was really, really interesting, and just an introduction, but I think it's really good for everyone to see the potential and also to understand the context. So maybe, I know if you can just like precise a bit what's the difference between the free model and the advanced model. Like I think it's good, like if people want to have a glimpse of what it can do, to just have just on the free version to test a few things. But if you can just like precise maybe what are the main differences, that could be interesting.
Yeah, sorry, as I flip back so we can look at this a little bit together. So I think that so if you're talking about like when you go to the web and you go Gemini.google.com, the one, I think the advanced model, I think is the 1.5 Pro, or let me think. The ability, the advanced model, and whether it's the 1.0 Pro or the 1.5 Pro, it does more reasoning. Again, it has more capabilities to have, like, it has more training data, but it has bigger context windows. So for example, it can take in more information for you to do more with. So that like 1 hour of video, it can process that. Whereas the regular model, it's just not as powerful. It can't do so many things. So if you're thinking like, I just want to generate more poems for people in your lives, you probably don't need the advanced model. If you want to do code, and actually for sure code generation, probably some of the spreadsheets and data analysis is more heavily, even possibly only available on the advanced model.
Okay, really clear. I see also a number of questions about prompting. So is there any specificities about Gemini about prompting, or is it like a is it like if you can prompt in another LLM, is it the same way you will be able to talk to Gemini, or does it has like a specificities?
Yes, so there are so we've announced a few things at I/O just about three weeks ago of things that are coming. One of them is gems, and this is a way to create little bots that like have prompts prompts that can be remembered. So maybe you have you do a lot of data analysis and you always want to remember, you want it to remember always that you always want output in a 3x2 table, and you like it this way, and it should always have like certain aspects. You can remember like those prompting, that prompting for output going forward, and you can create multiple ones of these. I think that this is coming pretty soon. In terms of if you're a developer, accessing Gemini as a developer, like I've really just today spoken about the consumer experience, but as a developer, there are tools that can absolutely have you do some prompt engineering and prompting Gemini just like you would like some other models to test out different kinds of prompts for to generate a response. There are many books and online guides now around prompt engineering and how best to do this. In some way, I am hoping that over time, some of this goes away and the models are just smart enough to know these things and remember these things. Like I wanted to remember that I like explanations, like, always as a 5th grade teacher. Like I shouldn't have to prompt it all the time. So over time, as we have like longer context windows and more memory, being able to remember these are what I want, I don't want to have to prompt it all the time.
Okay. And so you said like everything is arriving at the different countries and languages, but we had like so the masterclass with ChatGPT. So Adrien was using mostly in English because it was like better for him, quicker for him. But is there any difference in prompting in English or in another language? Like, is there any difference in the answer?
I have used it quite a bit in French. I don't see differences. I mean, but I'm not an expert. So I think that we have released in many languages, and the goal is to support many languages. So I would expect sometimes the quality is a little different depending on how much training data there is. But I mean, our goal is to support all of these languages equally.
Okay, perfect. So I see a lot of questions arriving, so I will try to to take them all, but please forgive me if we can't ask all the questions because it's been already like quite a bunch of time. So we have another question about what is available on mobile at the moment, like we saw on the demo in Project Astra that the person was using like a mobile around, etc. So what is actual and what is maybe for the future?
Yes, great question. On mobile today, we have launched a way to similarly input a prompt with text and get a response, and being able to speak. So audio, being able to speak to Gemini and see and hear a response. So it can read back with text to speech. It can read back the response. Video is not there yet. But I would also say on like Android phones, which is really even more powerful, is access to Gemini with the Google hot word. So being able to say, okay, Google, can you help me plan a 7-day trip to Italy? So these hands-free capabilities with the Google hot word is available on Android phones. So, and you'll just see, like, again, we're just getting started. So the Project Astra, again, came out of our research lab, but this is how we roll, right? There's research and then it comes into product. So in the next little while, you'll get to see more of how we incorporate that into the product.
Perfect. So I have another interesting question. So what do you think will be the most useful skills for non-specialists to make a good use of LLMs? Like, is it to learn to prompt? Is it to learn to speak like to the LLM? Is it to even like said like to code? But I think it's like how. What do you think like people who want to use LLMs at the moment should start with? Maybe just like experiment. I don't know.
Honestly, it's all the things. Like I think people will be surprised like how much it can do that you don't realize, right? Like prioritize your day for tomorrow. Okay, like Gemini, I need to do, this, 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 and this, and this. Can you write me a list and prioritize what you think, I should do first? I would say like even try whenever you would go to a search, see if you can have a conversation about that with Gemini. Like it will take time for people to find the use cases that make sense to them, but definitely like some translations, and of course you can use other products for that for sure. There's also ways if folks are whatever, if they have certain employment or certain jobs, that there's ways to use this in the job in people's jobs, right? Write a draft an email. I think that like just getting in there and checking it out and trying. We also have, when you go to gemini.google.com, there we have suggestions, right? We have things that are in there that like might make you think of something. Oh, it can do this. Okay, I'm gonna try. So, there's not one thing that's gonna work for everyone. I would say throughout your day, if you're really interested, find one, like go once a day and see what you can do. Like whatever time of the day you are, find a way to involve Gemini and see how it can help.
Perfect. And another interesting question is about like web resources connected with Gemini, because on Tuesday we saw that ChatGPT was connected to Bing, and it's not always like really helpful. So I guess as Gemini is the AI from Google, so what you can say about like when you need web resources to access to, like how does it work? Like how is it connected?
Yeah, and so you can absolutely use Gemini for a search query, right? Is 42 a prime number? Okay, you don't have to go to Gemini for that. You can just go to Google and type that in to answer that question. But to know that whatever you do use, so like going to Gemini for more involved or more turn-taking things that you might want to follow up on, or more extended. It's not just a search, like a factual search thing that you want, like a plan an itinerary. So going to Gemini for that versus search. That wasn't the question. I know it was like, okay, so why do you go to search and why do you go to Gemini? But to know that, of course, we have our duty and our responsibility that these are rooted very much in search facts, right? In factuality, and like knowing that we're not going to tell you the wrong thing if like 42 is a prime number or not. So they are connected. Maybe I don't can't get into those details, but of course we're trying to provide not an experience on top of search, but like alongside search that is as correct as search.
Perfect. So maybe I will take like a couple of questions and that's it. So because I received so many, so it's really interesting. But yeah. So it's more on the technical side, I think. But do the performances of Gemini rely only on the amount of data it has, or is there also algorithmic work involved to ensure the relevance of the responses?
Oh, yes, I think it is more than data. And I wouldn't be the right person to know what all of those things are. But yes, it's not just the amount of data. There are like you can, like here on the screen still is like one Gemini 1.5 Flash, right? So the capabilities of the model or 1.5 Pro to understand audio and like images, right? That's bigger kinds of models that can do more, and to know like this is an image, right, and this is audio, and how does that go together? Those are different capabilities of the model. It's not just the data.
Okay, so I will take two more. This one is really interesting as well, about the challenges Gemini has faced until like the first until it's at least you have started to work on maybe like if you know more. But yeah, the main challenges and how you overcome the challenges.
Yeah. So on the design side, right, on the user experience side, the biggest challenges like came up in some of the questions we already heard and what I tried to touch on about the future. The biggest challenge is for people to understand or just be curious about what Gemini can do and to break out of the models we already have to explore, right? So that possibility of like, what does it mean to like share ideas with Gemini or collaborate back and forth, to like have it as a creative partner? What does that mean? Instead of thinking like, okay, like I can just go to Bing and get my, weather for today. So the biggest challenge is around, we're really creating new and innovative relationships, or relationship with AI, or it's a new way to think and to use technology. And the hardest part is to educate our users that we don't even know everything yet, right? So like, how do we get people to try it? How do we get people to explore? And so how do we overcome that? Again, if you go to like gemini.google.com, you'll see we try and suggest some things that Gemini can do. Like, it's really thoughtful. We put a lot of work into like thinking, how do we have examples that might be interesting to people? Yeah, and so on. So yeah, changing perceptions is one of the hardest things.
And I guess when you work on a project, you never imagine all the usage that people will do. And sometimes you think of how they will use it, and in the end, they don't use it as you thought. So maybe it will also evolve by using the product and seeing how people just like make it at ease with all the features, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay, amazing. So maybe the last one is more about good books on prompting, but I will say, like, in general, if you have additional resources, if people are interested in knowing more about Gemini, prompting, LLMs, do you have any podcasts, books, websites, anything to share?
Oh, I wish I would have put something together. Is there a way to share a list with folks afterwards, Manon? Like, I'm happy to, there are prompt engineering guides online. There are definitely books that are coming. I wouldn't know off the top of my head some of those names.
Yeah, maybe we can send something later, but just maybe like about, I think, yeah, I viewed it. Maybe like just to follow about like the latest news about Gemini and Google in general, like that could be interesting as well.
Sorry, I missed that. So how can people follow the news? Is that yeah, So in AI in general, one of the newsletters that I get on a daily basis, not daily, but who I really admire his work. His name is Brett Kinsella, and he has, I think it's called Synthesia. And he puts out like news like daily, again, like what's happening in the AI space. And he comes from a world, it used to be just around these voice, digital assistants and voice assistants. And so his website is voicebot.ai. And from there, you can kind of subscribe to this newsletter. There is so much happening, right? It is so hard to keep track, but it is one of the ways that I like to keep connected.
Yeah, I think newsletters are a great way because it also synthesizes all the information. So if you find like a few ones to follow, I think it's a really good advice. Yeah, because sometimes having just like media, you don't really understand what's happening, and you have also like just like a few information, but not the latest innovation. So that's a great thing. Okay, so I see we only have a few minutes left. So first, thank you very, very, very much for your time and expertise. I think it's like we received so many questions. So once again, I'm so sorry we cannot like answer them all, but if you have questions for Ironhack, please just like write to us and we'll try to get back to you. And if you have questions about Gemini and Google, I think you can just like first search on the web, and also maybe we can do another edition sometime to follow up. But yeah, so thank you for all asking so many questions. And if you're interested in having all the replay, because all these webinars of this week's they are available to see the replay, so you can just like reach out to the link you register to the webinar, so the global landing page or each individual link, and you will receive also everything by email in an hour. You will receive an email with all the different links with the replay. If you want to access the first 3 webinars, they are in French, so only available for French speakers, I'm sorry. But in Ironhack, we also do webinars in English on a regular basis, so just stay connected and you can maybe assist to another one. But yes, just a big thank you, Karen, for your time. It was really, really interesting, and I hope that everyone gets a bit more knowledge about Gemini and the global world of LLMs and of AI, because it's a complex subject, but we tried to make it simpler. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Bye everyone. Thank you.